Thank you. So, hi everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's a pleasure to welcome you in my living room and to be welcome in yours. So, I actually give a lot of those talks usually to a lot of people, mostly student doctors nowadays. So I'm used to the format. But as you can hear in my accent, it's the English is not my first language. So I'll try my best to be clear. But if you don't understand a thing that I'm saying, you can like say it in the chat, and I guess I'll try to go slower or something, or say it in a different format. So really, no worry. Second things, Matthew just mentioned that you can ask question in the chat. It's a good way to do it. Sometimes if the question is pertinent, I don't mind to answer it like while I am in the subject. I think the conversation is richer that way. So yeah, go ahead for your question anytime, no worry. And finally, third thing is this is a conversation, so it's not like a course, a university course. So I really want you to, those kind of talks comes alive when everybody participates. So if you're not too shy or in pajamas, you can open the camera if you want to. I'll see your face, I'll see visual cues, so that way I can test the water, see if the subject is interesting or stuff like that. So if you're not in pajamas or eating, go ahead. And otherwise, if you're shy, but just stay hidden, it's all right also. So I'll try to share my presentation. Do you see my screen? Yes, yep. Good, perfect. All right. So as Matthew said, I work for a firm that is called Archer Wealth Management. And that's a funny thing, because Matthew could not have reached to a Frenchier wealth management firm in Montreal, I think. So anyway, but it's the best, so I understand him. So today I'll do a quick introduction about the firm to see so that way you know that I have qualification to talk about what I'm about to talk to you to. I'll have different parts. It's gonna go fast. I can't like tell you everything that I've learned in the last 8 years, but I try my best to give you some cues. So first part, I'll talk about retirement in general. Second part, investing. Third part, a little bit of insurances, and the fourth part, I'll put it all together. Little disclaimer: this is for information purpose only. I am a professional. I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know you. I don't know where you are in your life, so I can't say like this is the right thing to do, because it would be a lie, because I don't know you. I don't know your objective. So it's take the information, but use your judgment. Don't apply everything to you like it was the truth. A little bit about me. I'm a CFA, which is an international like certificate, if you want. It's the Chartered Financial Analyst. So it's really about evaluating stocks and investment in general. I have a bachelor degree in finance from University of Sherbrooke. I'm a financial planner, portfolio manager, financial security advisor, which is the license about insurance. I have 7 years of experience in the industry, and I'm also a shareholder of Archer. So I'm really invested in what I do, and I kind of know what I'm talking about right now. I'm not perfect. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm okay. The mission of Archer is to empower clients to reach their financial goals. How do we do that? It's by giving those kind of talks. So really what we want to do is to explain the industry, give you a lot of information. That way you have better tools to make the right decision for your life and to attain your financial goals. Just a quick note about us. We're an independent firm. So I don't know what you're used to deal with, but like basically in the industry, there's like 3 types of format, if you want to. They are banks, brokers, and independent. Like I think banks, when you need the products, you go to the banks, they'll give you the products, they'll lend you money, they'll open a TFSA. It's really like a short-term transaction. You won't see the same financial advisor every time you go, because they are employees and there's a lot of rotation with employees in banks. Afterwards, you have brokers. Brokers are not employees. Usually they like self-employed, and they have to like get clients one by one. So that way, usually when you start with the brokers, you can have him for a long time because he is building his client base. So you have a long-term relationship. The product offering will be depending of the franchise he works for. So suppose he works for Investors Group, he will have Investors Group products only usually. So sometimes there can be a conflict of interest with that. And finally, they are independent firms, which are like brokers for most of them. So we have a long-term relationship with our clients, but we don't limit ourselves with the products of a franchise because we have access to everything. However, sometimes when we talk about independent, people are a little bit scared about their money. So don't be for us. We have a custodian. So we use a branch of National Bank, which are made only for independent firm to put the money of our clients. So basically they are in charge to protect the money of our clients. You open an account with them and you designate us as the portfolio manager. So that way you have best of both worlds. You have like the security of a bank, but you have the independent financial advice, which is usually good. Our services are in three parts. We do investing, insurance, and advice. I won't explain all of the industry to you, but not all licenses are the same. So for example, only in Quebec, there's around 40,000 representatives. Most of them sell mutual funds, which are pre-made products. After that, you have like around 2,000 stock brokers, which will select stocks for you. And there's around 300 portfolio manager like me. We are like, we can do everything in investment, and we design the product, the mutual fund product. So we're like the designer. And insurance, you can work with somebody who works for one company. So for example, you meet someone who works for Sun Life, he will always advise you to take Sun Life products, or you can work with a broker like us. We have access to everything. So I always say we're like a drugstore. If you need Advil, I'll give you Advil. If you need Tylenol, I'll give you Tylenol. It doesn't matter for me. And finally, for advice, we are financial planner. So in the industry, you call everybody a financial advisor. So you can sell credit card and be a financial advisor. It does not mean anything. Does not mean you have like a bachelor degree or studied finance. It just means you're selling financial product. However, financial planner in the opposite. This is I don't know the name in English, but it's a term that not everybody can have. You have to do the formation. You have to have some level of school and like keep learning every year and be. You have to know a little bit about everything in finance to have this title. Question about that? I don't know if it was clear. Okay, good. So part one, what's retirement anyway? So retirement is like a big word, I think. It's like, it means a lot of things and does not mean a lot of things at the same time. I try to define it in this way: human capital versus financial capital. So right now you are all postdoc students, not students, I guess just postdocs. What you own that is worth the more is your human capital, is all the things you have in your head that you learn. So this is what you possess the most. So for example, if you're gonna make 100 grand a year for the next 30 years, it represents around like maybe 5 million. So obviously this is what you possess that it's worth more. It's not your Honda Civic, $10,000 Honda Civic. It's your capacity to make money in the future. As you grow older, this human capital will decrease in value, because when you're 65 years old, you have less year ahead of you, and sometimes even if you want to work more, you can't. because your head is not maybe there anymore. Your cognitive function and physical function will decrease, so you're worth a little bit less in terms of human capital. So the game in life for retirement planning is to replace your human capital with a financial capital. And at some point, this financial capital will be big enough that it will produce enough money every year to replace your salary. So you have enough money every year to live without working. And when this point happens here, the threshold, the meeting point of the two lines, is where you becomes financially independent, that we call. So this point, it can happen in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, 35 years, 40 years, you decide. So it depends of what you want, how you are, and what you do. But basically, retirement is that. So I won't talk a lot about retirement. I will talk a little bit more about financial independence usually. So when can you be financially independent? It depends of 3 questions. How much money do you want to spend? Do you spend? Do you need to live and to be fully content every year? Is it 25K, 50K, 100K, 2000K? How much can you put aside every year of your salary? Is it 10%, 15%, 20%, 50%? And the third question, do you do it right? So when you put money aside, do you optimize your returns, your risk, and your fees? So for example, if you make less returns than you should because you have poor investment choice, you'll be financially independent at a later date than someone who does it right. So it's just to, if you're gonna work, just make sure to do it right. So 2 profiles here. You have John and Joe. So suppose John saved 50%, and so he makes, for example, 100K. He saved 50K and needs 50K to live. And Joe save 25%, so 25K, and spend 75K. You see that Joe get used to live with a lot of spending. So he save less and he spends more. So his date will be really, really, really later on. And John, he get used to live on 50K a year and he save 50K a year. So it's really gonna go really faster for him than Joe to get to be financially independent. And neither is wrong. So I'm not saying Joe is doing the wrong thing. In fact, Joe is doing what most people do. So most people want to be financially independent at 65 years old. They want to have a long working life because they like their work anyway. So it doesn't matter. So, but some people's, especially like in the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of like a movement of people trying to be financially independent really, really, really young. So they live really frugally and put a lot of money on the side. So it really depends of what you want from life and your objective and stuff like that. No wrong answer. So there's 3 parts of financial capital. So the money you put aside. There's the government's program, the employer's program, and the personal savings. So I know a lot of you are from international background, but this stuff really in most developed country, you have like the same or less program. But if you want to work in Quebec, this is how it's going to work for you for retirement. So there's the Quebec pension plan, which everybody put money in it. So this is guaranteed you'll have something when you get older. The max in today's dollars is $15,000 a year if you put the max of it. How how this is defined, what you contribute to the Quebec pension plan, it depends of your salary. So the more money you make, the more the government makes you put aside in the Quebec pension plan. And finally, there's the old age security program from Canada. This one, we don't put money in it. It's our taxes that go funds it. So we don't know if it's gonna stay here forever because it's basically a little bit of free money. The second tranche is the employer's program. So employer's program, there's 2 types of pension plan. There's the defined benefit and the defined contribution. And here I inverse. So just, just correct that. If I can write. So defined contribution is you put a fixed amount of your salary, for example, 2%, and your employers will put, usually they will put the same amount as you, and it's really no more than 2% nowadays. So in old times, in your parents' times, you used to put maybe 6%, and they would put 6%, but nowadays it's like they're like employers are really getting like cheaper with the pension plan. So this one, the only thing that is guaranteed is the money you put inside of it. It's no guarantee what you will have in the future because it depends on the stock market's returns. So you basically carry the risk. The other one is the defined benefits. This one, it used to be popular, but since 2008, there's less and less and less. Almost only government program now, government employees have defined benefits. This one will guarantee what you will receive in the future based on the years of services that you're giving them. So for example, the nurses in Quebec, they get 2% of their salary per year per years of service. So if you work 30 years, you'll receive 60% of your salary for the rest of your life. And this is guaranteed. So as you can see, the employees does not carry the risk. It's the employers who carries the risk. So you can understand why it's less and less there's less and less the defined benefit program in our days. And finally, the third tranche is the personal savings. So the money you will put aside yourself in RSP, TFSA, non-registered. If you buy real estate, if you fund a business and sell it later for money, this is all the things that will contribute to your financial capitals. I have to tell you that today, the burden is more on personal savings than ever. So as time goes by, the government program, they shrink, employers program shrink. So you have to take charge of your personal savings more and more now. I'll talk a little bit later about RSP and TFSA. So do you have question yet? Because I don't see the chat, so I won't moderate.
Just one comment. If you can maximize the screen, if you can
maximize the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because I want to see your face also. Oh yeah, it's good. Is it better? Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Perfect. Good. So just a question to maximize my screen, but not about financial capital. So I guess I'm clear. All right. So part 2. So this financial capital will go a little bit in details how you can manage it. So there's 3 factors of investing. There's the returns, the risk, and the fees. And the returns, you have almost no control over it. The fees, the risk, you have some control, and the fees, you have all control. Those are the triangle. So you have to think about 3 of them. Most people will focus on returns, but you have no control on returns. So they focus on something they can't control. So you have to focus on risk and fees. The return composition, I'll dissect it for you. 80% of it, it comes just to be invested in the market. 80% of your returns will be to be only invested. You can be invested in the US market, Canadian market, in a basic ATF, you will make 80% of your result that way. So it's like really a matter of like the tides lift all boats. So just to be in it, you'll get the returns. Choosing the right market, like choosing US market versus Canadian market or Asian market is 10% of the result. Some markets will perform better in a given year. This is a given, but it's hard to know since we don't read the future. So a way to manage that is to put a little bit in every market usually. We'll talk a little bit about this later. And finally, the third part is selecting the right stock. This is 10% of the result. This is what most people talk about, oh, I invested in Tesla and some wheat stock and Bitcoin and stuff like that. People really like to geek about this, but this is really hard to do consistently, like the right way to select the right stock. Most people just don't know what the fuck they're doing. Sorry about the language, but this is the truth. And it's so expensive to do it in time and money and analysis that usually it will eat your return. So it is a negative sum game, because if you buy the market in whole, you do the average. So some people perform better, but when somebody perform better, it's because somebody performed less. So usually, and when you add the fees, it's usually a negative sum game. So you can't really beat the market in the long run. So usually the right thing to do is to focus on number one and number two, be invested in the market, and maybe choose the right market. But usually you need more to stress about number one than number two. And for most people, they should forget about number three, unless they really, 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 really like to do this. Risk control, second part. So definition of risk, this is the price you pay for your return. So if there's no risk, you have no return, because it's about cost of opportunity. So suppose Matthew asked me to lend him money. I have to sacrifice some money to spend today. So I have to have an incentive to do that. So I'll lend him the money. I'll say, okay, right, I'll lend you $1,000, but you need to give me 5%. So that way I'm like happy to not spend this money today. If Matthew is not, I think he's Scottish, right? So I don't think he'll pay me back. I'm like making that up. English, sorry. So I'll charge him maybe 20%, because there's Brexit and stuff. So I don't trust him anymore. So it's a lot of risk. So I need a lot of incentive to lend him the money. So it's about cost of opportunity. So that's why usually you make more return when you take more risk. However, the market won't reward you for stupid risk. Okay. So if there's a risk that you can from in some way diversify away or not take, it doesn't matter if you take this risk, the market won't reward you for you. So I always give the example, if you can pay a Honda Civic 25,000 and you have like exactly the same car on the right from another vendor, like same kilometers, same like, it will not break, it's perfect like the other one, same color, and you can get it for 15,000. You usually take the one at 15,000. You don't pay 10,000 more premium, but people do that all the time in stock market. So they say, oh yeah, I take more risk, that way I will make more return, but they don't diversify. So they pay more risk than they should, and the market won't pay return for those kind of risks. So it's a little bit abstract right now, but you'll get it later a little bit more. The third part of risk control is diversification. And most people don't understand the diversification. Usually when we talk about this, we all say, oh, don't put the same eggs in the same basket and stuff like that. Diversification is mathematics. It's really about selecting stuff that don't correlate together. So when you select assets that have negative correlation, it will put some risk away while keeping the same return. So this is the example of the Honda Civic. If you can, for example, I tell you, you have the choice of an investment that will have a risk tolerance of suppose 5 being like 10 will okay, sorry, let's start again. So let's say we have a risk tolerance of 10. 10 is like the riskiest investment you can get. 1 is like the lowest risk you can take. So I give you the choice of you can make an investment and get 10% return every year with a risk of 5 versus same investment, 10% a year of return with the risk matrix of 2. So you're supposed to take the one with the risk metric of 2 because you get the same return, but with less risk. So this is how diversification works. When you do it right, you'll reduce the risk while keeping the same return. I don't know if it was clear, but I guess. Next thing, there's the risk tolerance and capacity that you can carry. Okay, so risk tolerance is the capacity to endure risk. This is mostly psychological. So for example, you invest I don't know, $100,000. There's a 30% drop in the stock market. It is worth now $70,000. How do you react? Do you sell everything? Do you cry? Do you not sleep? Are you happy? Do you don't care? So those are the questions you have to ask yourself in those situations. Because if usually when there's a drop, if you stay invested, the market will come back at some point. You have to stay invested. But if you don't stay invested, you'll miss the comeback. And this is how you do poorly in stock market. So if you can't carry a 30% drop, you have to take less risk, be investment that maybe will only have a 10% drop. Second part is risk capacity. What risk can you afford to take? So where are you in your life? Are you 5 years before retirement? If you're 5 years before retirement, you can take less risk than somebody who's like, for example, like all of you right now, I think, 30 years before retirement. So it's not the same. What is your current and future revenue? Is it stable? So for example, if you're living on grant right now and you don't know what is your grant next year, or you don't know if you have a job next year, probably you will take less risk than someone who is like have like a stable government job making 80K a year for the rest of his life. It's not the same situation. So you have to ask yourself those questions before choosing the right investment and selecting the right amount of risk to take. Fees. How much do you pay? Do you know all your fees? So I have to tell you, a lot of fees are hidden still in the products. You have to read the fine lines. So suppose when you buy a mutual fund from your banks, most people don't know that it costs around 2.2% a year. This is a lot. This is a direct subtraction on your return. So suppose the stock market makes 10% and you pay 2%. Really what you do is only 8%. So that's why it's a good thing to look around for fees, because if you can pay, for example, 1% instead of 2%, you basically make more, you make 1% more every year. And don't think 1% is not a lot. It's a lot. On over 30 years compounding returns, you can have like maybe 30% less money if you pay 2% instead of 1%. So this is something you can control. So it's a good thing to put focus on it. However, fees are not evil if you get your money's worth, because I know since the beginning, I talk a lot about things, talk about risk, I talk about diversification, and it's not really thing that I can explain you right now in 30 minutes. So usually you need a professional to do it. And when it is done right, you will make more money this way than the fees you pay. So like a good advisor can contribute to maybe 3% more return every year to you. If you pay him 1%, you get 2% more. So it's a good deal. But not all financial advisors are good. So sometimes you just pay more to get nothing. So some good things to look for with a good financial advisor: can he make a good asset allocation? So this is how asset allocation is really like the selection of market that I was talking about at the earlier slide. Can he make a good asset location, which is maximize TFSA, RSEP, and stuff like that? I'll talk about it a little bit later. So this is 90% of your return. So if this is done right, usually you'll get your money worth. Does he do a financial planning with you? Retirement planning, fiscal planning? Does he help you manage your liquidity? And finally, behavioral, I can't say that, coaching. So this is helping you to not make mistakes. So when there's a 30% drop, I'm there with my client. I'm telling them, it's part of the plan. We talk about this. We measured your behavior, your capacity to take risks. It's all right. It's on plan. Don't worry, it's gonna come back. Sometimes this is 50% of my job. So, and this is 50% of making good returns. So this is all the things you need to look out for when you choose a financial advisor and when you're selecting the fees that you pay. Okay, RSP, TFSA, non-registered. So those are names that are floating that probably you heard about it, I guess. So this is all chicken soup, okay? I always say RSP, TFSA are like ball. So for example, you buy an Apple stock, okay? Apple stocks is worth maybe $100 right now, and maybe in 2 years it's like $150,000, $150. $150. Okay, so you make $50 profit on it. So your Apple stock, if it is in our RSEP, TFSA, or a non-registered account, it will stay the same Apple stock. So when you eat chicken soup, if it is in the orange bowl, blue bowl, or it sounds bowl right now, bowl, sorry, or gray bowl, it's the same chicken soup. Okay, so don't think like when you'll make more money in TFSA than RSP. What changed is the treatment of your taxes in those accounts. So basically, government, because they want people to save money for their retirement, they put little candies around this investment account. So RSP, it will tax shield your returns. So if you make 10% return every year, you won't have to pay taxes on it. Also, this is non-tax money that goes in it. It's gross money. So for example, you make 50,000 a year, you take 10,000 a year, you won't have to pay taxes on this $10,000 if you put it in your RSP. That way you accumulate money faster and you make more money on more money. So it's really like a snowball at this moment. You pay taxes when you withdraw this money, however, because you did not pay the taxes in the beginning. But usually people will withdraw money in a lower tax bracket. So in your working life, you pay more taxes, and in your retirement, because you pay you need less money, you will pay less taxes. So usually it's a good deal to withdraw money in the lower tax bracket. And it is limited contribution. You can't put infinite money in your RSP. It's max 18% dollars of your salary, or $27,000. It goes up every year depending of your salary. Which one is so for example, if you make 100 grand, the most you can put in it, it's 18,000. If you make 200 grand, the most you can put in it, it's 27,000. So whichever is the less. Yep.
You said when you take the money out that you have to pay tax on it. Is it transferable? If I move countries, say, can I transfer?
Yes. Yeah, this is actually a good deal when you like usually. So for example, I contribute to my RSP all my life here, and I take my retirement here. I'll probably pay around maybe 35,000% in taxes. But when somebody leave the country, like forever, and they transfer the RSP out, they pay one-time taxes on it, and it is 25%. So usually you'll pay less taxes this way. So I'm thinking about moving from Canada in my retirement to pay 10% less. So it's a good question. Any other question about this?
Isn't the RSP tax-free when you plan to withdraw that money for like a down payment?
It is. This is a one-time deal, usually. It's maximum 35,000. And it's really just only to buy a house. And you have to refund yourself in the RSP afterwards, because if you don't, you will pay taxes on the money that you withdraw. So you have like 15 years to put your money back in your RSP to not pay taxes on this money.
Sorry, I have a question about that. Is for the first house, or could be for a second house, let's say in 20 years?
It's your first house. If you want to do it a second time, you have to not be an owner of a house for 5 years. So you sell your house, you live in an apartment for 5 years, you will be able to do it again. Only because usually you're two to buy a house. So for example, if your wife has a house right now, you don't have a house, you can't do it. Both of you have to not have a house.
So
Okay, thank you.
both partners need to be first-time owners?
Yes.
Okay. And can you explain a little bit about the fact you said most people should maximize RSSP than TFSA?
Yes, I'll explain TFSA first, and it's going to be clearer afterwards to get to my conclusion. Good. So TFSA, it will tax shield your return. It's a tax shield on your return like the RSP. However, tax money goes in it. So if you make, same example, the 10,000 of that I talk about for your RSP, this one you'll pay maybe 13% tax of your salary tax on it. So you only have like 7,000 to put in it. So you'll make money on less money. But when you withdraw, you pay less taxes, and it's also limited contributions. So why I say RSP first and TFSA first? It's only mathematically, if you put money in your RSP and withdraw money from your RSP at the same tax bracket that you did when you contributed, if you do that with your RSP and your TFSA, it's going to be exactly the same result. But most people, when they withdraw the money, it's going to be in the lower tax brackets. So when this happens, you will have more money in the end result with the RSP than the TFSA. So for most people, it should be RSP first and then TFSA. Is it clear? I don't know who asked the question, but
can I ask another question, please?
yes.
Okay, right now, from our salary, there is a deduction that is going to an account, the mutual fund that is being managed by Sun Life. Is that considered as an RSEP, or what kind of account is that?
It's probably an RSP. Probably. Usually it is.
Just to interrupt, if you enter to Sun Life your account, you're going to see what it is inside.
Yes.
You can see what it is if you go inside.
Okay, thank you.
It depends of what you choose in the beginning. So, but usually like collective accounts like those one are RSP, and sometimes if you chose a TFSA, you have the TFSA also.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And finally, the third type of account is non-registered. So basically, this is like a basic investment account that is not a RSP or TFSA. So you put tax money in it, and all the returns you make every year, you have to pay taxes on it. So this is why it is the last account that you use, because those one you'll make more money with them. But if you save a lot and you maximize RSP, maximize TFSA, then you have no choice to invest in non-registered. Also, there's like the students account. I'm not talking about it here, but it's you have to know it exists. When you have children, you can put money in those accounts. This is tax money also. You have tax shield on your return, but the government will put 30% contribution on your money in it for your children. So this is really good return, 30%. So you have to know when you have children to look for that.
Is that through the bank or how?
It can be through any like, it could be through the bank, could be through like a portfolio manager like me, it could be through a broker, it could be a self-brokerage account. It can be anywhere that you can open an investment account.
Thank you.
Good. So what do you put in those accounts? Is it stocks, mutual funds, ETF? So first category, mutual funds. This is a professionally managed money by a portfolio manager usually. You can get them by banks, brokerage account, and stuff like that. They can be diversified or not. So you can buy something diversified, or you can buy something really, really precise in like emerging technology, for example. But mutual funds are usually expensive because there's a long distributions with them. So there's a lot of marketing also. So most the average fees of mutual funds in Canada is around 2%. So this is what you will get when you're working with a bank and also with a lot of broker, mutual fund representative. Afterwards, there's stock and bonds. So lots of work if you want to do it right. So if suppose you open yourself a brokerage account and you want to select stocks, if you want to analyze those stocks, it's a lot of work. It's risky for most of people because they don't know everything and they don't diversify enough, but it is cheap because you don't pay any fee on stocks. And finally, the third option is ETF. So those are like mutual funds, but they are trading on the stock market. They are cheap. It's usually around 0.1%, 0.2%. They can be diversified or not. So you can buy like mutual funds, really like precise ETF, or you can buy all-in-one solution that do everything for you. So if you want to do your investing a lot alone, for most of you, I will recommend all-in-one solution of ETF if you don't want to work with a professional. I'll talk a little bit more a little bit later at the end, but if you have question about it, now is the time. No? Cool. Part 3, risk transfer with insurances. So we talk about a lot about a financial capital, but the amount of financial capital you will have will depend of your human capital. So we talk about a lot about a financial capital, but we don't protect enough our human capital. So for example, if tomorrow you are sick and you can't work, you can pay for your thing, you can put money aside. So if you can't put money aside, you're not building your financial capital. So insurance can make sure that you protect your human capital even when you are sick or injured or not apt to work mentally, for example. So I'll talk about two kinds of insurance. The first one is disability insurance. The second one is life insurance, which I think most of you know. So what it is, it protects your salary in case of sickness, injury, physical or mental. Usually when you work for somebody, for an employers, you have some coverage with them, and when you're student, sometimes you have some coverage also, it depends. Okay, you have to read in your coverage booklet. So lots of people have that, but it does not really very often protect the whole salary. So sometimes it protects only like 50% of your salary. So you have to read about this and to make sure if it protects everything. This is the most important insurance that you can have when you are young, okay? Because as I told you in the beginning, the most important thing that you own is your human capital. So you have to protect it. Everything is depending on that. And usually when we are younger, we think we're invincible and nothing will happen to us. We will not get injured, not get sick, but it can happen over time. In fact, for most people, it will happen one time in their life. So it's important to protect this. If you don't have anything with your employers, usually you can get a personal policy. You'll need tests to get one of those with the good company. So the good company is Manulife, Canada Life, RBC. Any other company, usually the product is not guaranteed and the price can change over time. So you have to look with those three companies, but usually when you work with the financial security advisor, which you have to do to buy those kind of insurance, if he knows what he's talking about, he will give you good advice. And this is a mistake in the bottom, so I don't know why it's there. Second insurance, this is life insurance. What it do is it protects your family in case of your death. So you protect the human capital of your family. So suppose you're husband and wife, both of you make 100 grand a year and you have 2 children with a mortgage of like maybe 4,000 a year. One of you die. What happens? You have the mortgage and you have the kids to pay alone all by yourself, and there's like 100 grand less that is coming in the house now. So life insurance, it protects the 100 grand for a couple of years to make sure that you get right with your mortgage, your kids, their studies, and your retirement. So when you're here, at this point, most of you won't need insurance. You don't need life insurance at this point because here the house is paid down. Usually the kids are old and you put money enough aside. So if one of you die, one of your partner dies, it does not matter. It matters, you cry a lot, but it does not matter for your financial security. Same thing for disability. So if you have enough money on the side, you don't need to you don't need disability insurance because now your human capital, even if you're unable to work, you have financial capital to give you a salary every year. So most of your active life, you should have insurance, but at some point you won't need it. So this is why for life insurance, you should focus on temporary insurance. It's going to be really less expensive and it's really for a temporary need. So you pay it for like your active life, and after your active life, you get rid of it because you don't need it anymore. A life insurance is not an investment. Okay, a lot of financial security advisors, financial insurance sellers like to say it's an investment because it's the only thing they can sell. So they say it's an investment, but an investment is money you put in your RSP and TFSA, and it's usually you'll make more money this way than to pay an expensive whole life insurance. Except in very specific case, which is when you have a business, and we won't talk about this today. So if you are in a profession that you will be incorporated, maybe at some point in your life you will need whole life insurance, but this is beyond the scope of the topic of today. So most of you should make sure you have a disability insurance if you can have one. And afterwards, if you have a partner and you are at some point in your life, you should get a little temporary insurance also, just to make sure you protect each other. So putting it all together, and this is like the part I think we'll ask a lot of questions to make sure we understand everything. So first option, first things you have to do is decide what are your goals and objectives. Okay, so in the beginning, I'll talk about when do you want your retirement? What is important for you? Do you have like bad debts that you need to pay? Are you stressed about some things? So you have to get your money right first in the beginning before talking about investment. You choose when you want your retirement, and afterwards you choose how much money you want to spend every year and how much money you want to save. Basic question. Second point is find a good advisor or don't. Okay, so this is a personal thing. Obviously, I advise most of you to take an advisor because I am one, but I know my industry and I know it is hard to find somebody you can trust and that he is good. So those are like the basic thing you can like ask or like poke around. So what is his fee? What do you get for this fee? What is the, I'll get to you afterwards, Matthew. What is the product offering? What is the service for those fees? Does he do like investment? Can he do the your insurance needs? Is he a financial planner? Can he help you plan your retirement? Help you save money in taxes every year? Stuff like that. Is there any potential conflict of interest? There's a lot of conflicts of interest in the industry. So if you work with somebody who works for only one company and you can always only get product from this one company, it's usually a problem. And what is licenses and qualification? Does he study that? Does he have like a bachelor degree or not? What is his story? What is his experience and stuff like that? So those are basic questions. Matthew? You're muted. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was wondering what is the sort of average fee you would pay or the range? Do you have an idea?
Yeah. So the standard is 1% plus 1%. So like the product, the mutual fund will cost 1%, and like the advisory fee will cost 1%. This is what you find the most in like a basic mutual fund representative. You start to see cheaper solution. So for example, us, it is 0.5% for the investment part. and it is 0.75% for the advice. So it's total of 1.25%. We are a really cheap solution because we don't deal with everybody. We have like high net worth clients lots of doctors and stuff like that. So we can have those kind of like lower fee if you want to. People, if you know about Wealthsimple, for example, Wealthsimple, you have like a solution that only does your investment. You won't get any advice. It's going to be 0.5%. So instead of that, what you should do is open a brokerage account, get an all-in-one ETF, which does exactly the same thing as Wealthsimple. It's going to be less pretty with the color and stuff, but it's going to be 0.2% every year instead of 0.5%. But for advice, usually for an advisor, you'll pay around 0.75%, in between 0.75 and 1%. And afterwards, you need to add the products. So we manage our own products, so it's less expensive. But if you use a mutual fund, it's going to cost around 1%. So in between 1.25 and 2%. That's the maximum you should pay.
I guess there's a minimum amount you need to invest with a lot of these.
Yeah, it depends. Honestly, for me, it depends. Like, it always depends of the motivation of the clients. Obviously, I can not deal with everybody, but when people have like, first of all, I meet everybody. Okay, so when somebody they ask me question, they want to meet me, I'll talk with them and I'll see what are their situation, and afterwards I'll direct them with what is the best way. So for example, if I meet somebody who does not have any money under management right now, I'll ask him, what are your revenue, where are you going for life, how much money do you want to put aside? So if he wants to put aside like $5,000 a year, I'll tell him, look, I think you should open this type of account. I'll help him get it set up, put money inside of that. Right now, I can't help you because for us, it does not work. And put money enough aside. And at some point, when you'll need more advice, come back to us and you have the minimum at this moment. So it depends. And some people, they just take everybody. But usually they do a lot of volume and you get less advice. It's really a hard spot right now for people who have less money under management, but we all have to start somewhere. So I start with some people. It depends with what is the future capacity of this person. So this is not a fun answer, but this is the reality. So.
All right, thanks.
Third option, do it alone. So you open a self-brokerage account at Quest Trades, Interactive Broker, Disnat, RBC Direct Investing. You buy an asset allocation ETF like VGRO from Vanguard. So those are products that already select the markets for you. You'll pay 0.2% per year. That's it. You put all your money in that every year in your RSP, and you don't think about it. You save at least 10%, 12% of your gross salary if you want a retirement by 60, 65. And honestly, right now, I would be a little bit safer, so maybe 15%. So you put 15% all your life, you'll be okay. Won't be perfect, but you'll be really more okay than most of the people. And insurance, look for your employer's coverage and disability. Meet a financial security advisor, which is sometimes do investment also. Like for me, I do both, and buy a basic temporary life insurance to protect insurability. So those are like my final advice if you want to take them. So we'll have questions, but what I want to say, so don't worry about minimum. Every one of you, if you want to ask questions, I put my email in the chat in the beginning. Maybe I'll just put it back at the end, so you have I guess the chat is not that big right now, but yeah, you can see it in the beginning. So so just take my email, write to me, ask your question, and if I can do something for you, I'll answer everybody in any case, and I'll direct you to the good spot if you feel like it. if I can help you, I will. So
we don't see any email address. At least I don't see any email address in the chat.
it's probably because I posted like before you got here, so I'll post it back. There you go.
Perfect.
Oh, it's
Thank
oh,
you.
it is to everyone. Sorry, it's only to Santiago. Santiago has a.
So feel free to raise your hand if you have a question and you don't want to.
So there's a lot of
Okay.
questions right now in direct messaging. I don't know if I answered those or.
So we can, you know, have a round of, if you want to ask a question in person, we go with that, and then definitely cover the chat as well.
Good.
There are questions in the chat, so maybe you can start from that one.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so I'll talk from the beginning. So can you please, okay, record the video? So I think it's done. Expand.